Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Build Show. I'm your host over here at Empower Gaming Computers, Ben Estrino, here to build another PC. Yes, long time no see. That is a understatement. It's been a little light for the builds recently. It always happens around this time of the year where we don't get a ton of builds in the summer. It's just normal for the industry, in my opinion. Every year it's the same story. Right around May, it starts kind of dipping off slowly as we transition into the summer. And then usually what I run into is a lot of birthday builds or just unique situations, not just, hey, I'm looking for a bigger, better PC or Christmas gift, etc. Those are usually what we're building through the months of November, and then the tax season builds that we do after February is usually when those start coming in. But this year in general has been significantly less builds than our past year. We've done significantly less because we're almost about halfway through the year, or we are technically, and we're nowhere near halfway point last year. So this year we've definitely done a lot less builds, and I don't know if it's a mixture of the economy or we just ran out of our reach with our customers, maybe new customers potential. I don't know what I have to do there to expand that. So that is kind of what's happening, is you see less builds on my end because we're just not getting the builds in. Let me turn that down first. So we've had less builds, and that's kind of the experience this year. Anyway, so I've been looking at some different content options, and I've been working on it for the last couple of weeks, and we've had a lot of support requests as well, which has been a good thing. Also, because it's kind of supplementing not having those builds here. So we are, it's not like we're not doing anything. We're still working and taking care of local customers that come in for support needs and maintenance stuff that people bring to us. People bring computers to us for cleaning, just a regular monthly or couple month cleaning, because they just don't want to do it, or they're scared to do it, or which I am going to actually put together a video on how to clean that, a PC, a really bad PC too. My PC, I've let it go specifically so I can make a video. And it's getting bad. It's getting really bad. I actually had to wipe the dust from the front because I didn't have enough time to do it yet, because I've let it go, just so it can breathe. That's how bad it is right now. So hopefully I can put together, some quality videos on how to do things around, maintaining your PC, cleaning it, doing driver updates, and that's kind of my plan right now. I'm also still working on the PC Flip series. I have quite a few builds here in varieties that we're going to be doing, just showing how to flip PCs, because that's actually how I started Empower Gaming Computers, was flipping PCs on a weekly basis. Hey, what's up, Army Vet? Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. I know it's been a while, and I'm just kind of explaining that right now, ironically, why it's been a while. It's just been really slow. We just haven't had a lot of build requests. Slow with the new builds, but we've had a lot of my streak is still alive. Yes, you didn't miss one. It's just been, I think it's 2 weeks to today since my last build stream. Nice little break, honestly, not having to fire up the stream. It's not that I don't enjoy it, it's just when you're constantly on camera talking, it gets to you, especially in the month of December for me. It's exhausting after a lot of streams. So for those of you who do streaming as a full-time job, it's a lot more work than a lot of people think. But today we're going to be building a new PC. This is going to be the King series, actually, that we have listed on our website. So if you're curious about what it, what this cost, and if you want to look up the specs, our customer here, local customer, purchased this from our website, and we are he's here in Michigan, and I'm actually going to put this together and drive it down to him because he ordered it almost 2 weeks ago now, and unfortunately the case was damaged during shipping, the first case, and then I went and reordered the case once I found out it was damaged. When it arrived, I was like, well, we can't build in that, so I reordered the case, only to find out where it didn't tell me, hey, it's out of inventory, you have to wait an extra like 3 days before it ships. So then I tried ordering from another location, and it was the same result. So I think they're shipping from the same warehouse, from Amazon and from Newegg. And then of course Micro Center didn't have this particular case in stock, in black. They had, I think, a white and a blue and a red, no black. So for some reason, all of a sudden, this case was out of stock after the fact that I've already received one in a timely fashion, and it was unfortunately damaged. So I had to ship that back and get a replacement and get another one shipped, ordered. So that is why we had a long delay on this build. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Let me actually message our guy here just to make sure he's aware we're streaming it. I told him yesterday that we were going to be doing it tonight, and I just need to make sure he knows. All right, I just sent him a text. Hopefully he sees that here, if he's not already in here. And we'll just get started with the build. So, first off, we're going to run through the parts that we're going to be building with tonight. And again, this is the King series on the website, so if you're not familiar with it, you can check it out on the website and just look up the King, and then just check out the specs that we're going to be building with. It is a multi-choice, so you can actually change your components in the build on the website if you wanted to. And this is what he selected. So we're going to start with the Ryzen 7, Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. So it's got the 3D V-Cache, which has the 8 cores and the, I believe it's 16 thread. Yep, 16 thread processor. This is a great gaming CPU for anybody that is looking for a higher end gaming CPU. This CPU is a badass for anybody that's looking for that gaming CPU that's a little higher end, and also will offer a better upgrade platform other than Intel, because Intel is looking to, or is going to be renewing their CPU lineup here, I think, in a new motherboard. So whereas with AMD, you don't have that problem. We'll have AM5 sticking around for quite a while. So that's already been announced by AMD a while ago. So I usually recommend people right now that's trying to put a build together, which now is a very good time to put a build together, because all the manufacturers are looking at dumping their existing inventory to get ready for their new inventory. So there's a lot of deals, a lot of prices that are down from where they were. So now is a really good time to build a PC. But the AM5 platform that we're going to be building on is the X670 Gaming X AX V2. This has been a great motherboard. We've used it several times. I think in the past, out of the 650 versions of this board, do have some weird issues, but the X670s, I've never had a problem with these boards. This is a solid board that we've used for a while now, and this is the version 2 of the board, so it's already a second release of this board, 5 gigabytes. Next up, we have our RAM, which is the Trident Z5 Neo RGB, which is AMD Expo certified. And we have a total of 30, this is a 32 gig kit. I'm sorry, I don't have my sheet in front of me right now. I'm just winging it right now because I'm trying to get this build done for him. I think it was 64 gigs that he ordered. And there's two 32s in here, I believe. 32 gig times 2. 16 times 2. I'm not... I'd have to double check the sheet. Terrible, I know. And then we have 2 terabytes of a Gen 4 M.2 NVMe SSD by Silicon Power. This is a super fast SSD that has up to 7,300 megabits per second read, and I think 6,800 megabits write. So it's a super fast read-write drive. To cool the CPU, we're going to be using our famous Liquid Freezer 3, 360, not ours, but Arctic's famous Liquid Freezer 3, 360 millimeter AIO. It's got a little bit of a thicker radiator on it. And this has addressable RGB fans on the top, so it's going to blend very well with the rest of the fans that are included with the case. The graphics card is going to be the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 Super. This thing's got 12 gigs of GDDR6X memory. I think it's a 256-bit or 192-bit. I can't remember if the Super was 256 or 192. So if somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, please do so. This thing's great because it has the DLSS 3, which is a big deal in a lot of newer titles that support it. So you can get some of that frame generation going to help boost those frames. And the 4070 does a really good job at that, especially with its extra VRAM on the card versus, you know, your 8 gig card now today. And pretty much, if you guys are not familiar, or what I've been seeing is basically your games or AAA titles today require minimum of 8 gigs. And in some cases you can get away with 6, but 4 is just not enough, which kind of blows my mind. Because just, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I was building, you know, budget PCs with 4 gig cards, and it's now all of those need to be upgraded, which we've been doing a lot of. So, power this system. We're going to use a Segitech GM 750 watt, which is an 80 plus gold power supply. One important thing that this power supply offers that a lot of power supply that, especially if you're getting a RTX 4000 series or newer 5000 series card that's upcoming, is you want to look for the PCIe 5.0 support on power supplies. This has the direct connection, that 12 volt high power connection directly from the power supply to the graphics card, which is what you want. We don't want to use the adapter, and that's what this power supply offers, is that cable. I don't know that the 4070 uses that cable. I think the TI, Super TI, a TI Super, whatever you want to call it, uses that cable, but I don't think the Super or the standard 4070 does. If it does, then we have it anyway. But the reason why I go with PCIe 5.0 is so that when he is ready to do an upgrade, he has the cable there for him in the future. So it's going to be a much easier upgrade later down the road. All right. The case, we're going to be building in the Montech King. And this is the Pro Edition. So got the case fans already included in it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this build, guys. Let's stop talking about it and do it. Hope everybody's evening is going well. Get over. Oh yeah, he originally ordered this PC with a Thermalright Peerless Assassin, and I called him and I made the recommendation that we want to put the AIO in instead for this case. We do offer that option for, you know, because it's a little bit cheaper, but I just couldn't do this build with the performance that he was trying to pack in there with a air cooler. So I made the recommendation, and I just fronted it, paid for it. out of my pocket to make sure you got the right cooler. So, here we are. Let's do it. Feels like it's been forever since I've done a build on the stream. It's been a minute. I think we want to turn on that. It's been so long I don't even remember the standard procedure to start streaming. Look at that. That beast of a motherboard. Hopefully all the two have been running around in different benches, working on different projects when they come in service. There's our Ryzen 7 7800X3D going in. There's our 1,000,001 AM5 pins. And with AM5, should have a gold triangle in the top left corner, which should just drop in. You also have a notch on the bottom and the top, which is slightly offset. You really can't mess it up. It just drops into place. Put the lid over, drop it, drop the hammer down, lock it in. This pops loose, and you're good to go. Your CPU is now seated. Next up is our G.Skill Trident Z5 Neo RGB RAM, which is AMD Expo certified. Some pretty stuff. Pretty and super fast at 6,000 megahertz CL30. And I believe it's 64 gigabytes total, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to go double check the order sheet. Either 32 or it was 64. Pretty rare that we see it these days with anything less than 32. I've been pushing 32 because the standard today, minimum 16. And if you want your PC to last a little while longer, I always recommend spending the few extra dollars just to get it to 32. That way, your PC will stay in the game for a little while longer. All right, next up, we're going to remove the heat spreader here for the SSD, and that's where we're going to be installing our 2 terabyte M.2 NVMe SSD. We're also going to peel that off of our heat pad, thermal pad, and the SSD is just going to slide into the slot and lock into place. So slight angle to get it lined up. Drop it in. That's a really nice spring-loaded locking mechanism for the SSD. Makes it a little easy. Drop this down. And one screw will secure the heatsink over the top of the SSD. And that's it. I have my trash bin across the other side of the room right now like an idiot. All right, there we go. So we've got our CPU, our RAM, and our SSD installed. Next, I do want to get the, if I remember correctly, this mounts. I want to get the cooler mounting. Can't remember how it mounts for AM5 off the top of my head. I don't remember. I know it's offset. I just don't remember if it uses the back plate, or if any of that needs to be removed. Now, I want to do that before I get it in the case. That is an Intel bracket. All right, so we are going to be using these brackets. I just needed a visual reference to jog my memory. And it is an offset, so it's slightly offset towards the bottom of the CPU here. It centers up on, and it leaves a portion of the top of the CPU actually exposed, but that's because the hotspot on the CPU is lower down here towards the bottom of the CPU. And that is by design by Arctic. So that is not a mistake. That is not, you know, did I install it wrong? That is by design for awareness. For anybody who's doing a build, AMD build with an Arctic cooler and has that experience, and they're like, oh my goodness, what is this? It is by design. So what we're going to do is remove this. We're going to use the back plate that is existing that came with the motherboard. So we're going to remove these two stock brackets. Then we're going to get our studs and our screws out for the Arctic cooler kit. I'm going to put our little spacing studs, call them spacers, studs, spacer stud, over the bracket. And then we drop our screws into the bracket here. Then make sure you pay attention to the L, the R on these brackets. You'll see left and right. That is important. It's not centered. Mounting position from the block is not centered. We want it lower. Or at least the mounting position on the block is centered, but the brackets not. That is intentional by design. Dang it. Remembered I meant. There we go. So now our brackets are installed. We're ready for the cooler. So we're good to actually drop this into the case whenever I'm ready. Which I can do right now. I could go get the case out. Unpackage that bad boy, zoom out, and start dropping this board in there. I already had it open because I had to check to make sure this one wasn't damaged. I feel like UPS lately has been using our packages as soccer balls. Oh. Hunting them off the truck, I don't know. This is the top. It's got a beautiful mesh top panel, which is removable, toolless removable panel, just with the push pins on there. So it makes cleaning it very easy. The side panel here, the glass side panel, has one thumb screw at the top, which we're just going to unscrew, and then grab the little lip here. I don't know if you can see it in the corner. A little bit better vision of it. But you unscrew the screw here, and then pull it. I said you unscrew it and then pull it, right? Would help if you unscrewed it all the way, and then you could pull it away. Very easy. Toolless. With the thumb screw. Next up is the rear panel that we're going to remove for the build. And again, it's the same design. We've got the thumb screw on the back. I just rotated it. It's on this side now. And then we've got a little lip there we can grab and pull it, and it removes. But look at the side panel. Look at that mesh. Beautiful mesh side panel so it can breathe. But this panel is actually going to develop a ton of dust here probably, especially if you're in a dusty environment. So make sure you take this panel off and clean it often. But it makes it super easy for the clean. Alright, so next up, we can remove the front glass panel, I believe. That's just toolless. Push it away from the case and lift up, and you remove it. This case does come with an optional mesh front panel, so you can replace that glass panel with a mesh panel if you prefer to have mesh with a little bit of better airflow. You can also install 2 fans on that mesh panel, which is cool. So if you want to add more airflow to your build with this case, you can do so. I really like that about Montech on this design. And they include the panel at no extra cost, so it's already included. But to remove this back panel here, there's 2 screws, top and bottom, that we just removed, and then this panel can lift up. Now, you would think you'd have to do a little bit additional work to get this removed, but you can unhinge this door just by pushing it inwards towards the back of the PC, and then you lift up the bottom portion out of its hinge, just like any other door. We're going to remove that, but basically that has a SSD 2.5 inch, I believe, mounts on it, as well as it just keeps the cables pretty well hidden. Hard to see, buried in there. But there, now we have access to the back, where we're going to do a lot of work, especially later in the build. And we could drop our motherboard in. I'm going to go ahead and just settle the motherboard in. We do have all of our studs in place. They're already there, ready to go. Makes this job easy. Compliment Montech, thank you. Then we're going to get our hardware kit out from Montech for the King 95. This is going to contain that mesh panel that I talked about, as well as your hardware kit, all your hardware for the case, and also some wider, and I love this about Montech, they sent over some wider screws for your AIO installation. That way the screw that comes with the AIO doesn't fall through the top, because it is a little bit wider. So it's very nice of them to do that. There's a couple extra, looks like SSD brackets, as well as that mesh panel that we were talking about earlier in this box, which we won't be using. But it is included, which is pretty cool, right? Hardware. Get our motherboard screws out. That way we can start screwing this motherboard in. Screwing the motherboard in. Use that however you want. Alright, so there's going to be 9 screws to mount this board. 1 million years later. Kind of one of those, you know, skip through moments or fast forward. If I wasn't my own editor, I'd have to put in like hints or something. So does anybody have any super crazy plans for the summer? Are they going out doing anything? Other than sitting here and watching me? Tell me your plans. Let me know. I'm always interested in new things. Alright, so now we've got our board installed. We're going to flip it back over and get our cables fed through to the front side from the back side to the front side for the case connect. Front panel. All that. Power button, etc. Need to plug all that in. So we'll get that flipped over and get these plugged in. Let's do it. USB coming through here. Got our front panel here. Audio there. Easy enough. I think we had an ARGB connection down here. 2 of them. And one there as well. That's for the hub that's up there that we want to get plugged into the motherboard and have it synced. Sync that bad boy. So we just got to locate the 2 synchronization cables here. We got one for ARGB, one for PWM, and that's for our fan hub up bottom here. Not sure if that. I'm just run these through here. It's going to be power supply when we. That's the hub. Next is our front panel connectors. Our USB 3.0, USB-C, our HD audio, and our front panel power set buttons. Like I said, I already kind of identified where all of these go, just so I knew. USB-C here, USB 3, send through here, and then our front panel power connector. Awesome of Montech to make it all one unit instead of all those individual. Angle it up with the fan there, and then we're going to flip it back over. Get them plugged in. Which, by the way, it only goes in one way, so you really can't mess it up. Get a feel. Then USB 3.0, which is this big one. Again, only goes in one way. It's actually notched at the top. This board goes in that direction, but it's notched at the top. So it makes it easy not to mess that one up either. We've got our fan for our hub, controlling 2 fans here, 3 here on the bottom and the rear. Hub is controlling all. It has external power, so I'm not about that. Drawing power from the plug in later once we get the power supply in there. Not drawing the power from the board, but it is using the board to determine using that PWM connection, that 4th pin. Okay. That do it for these internal case connections already. That's what I'm saying. This case is a breeze to work in. Makes it super easy. And that is what we got currently. Looking good. So now let's get the AIO installed. This is going to be also. Now, this panel can actually be removed. This top panel here, you can remove this, mount it to the AIO, and then drop it in nice and smooth. But I'm going to do it the less ethical way. Just to save myself some time from removing this and then putting it back on. I'm just going to take the AIO, hold it there, and then mount it. Shame on me, I know. And actually, before I do that, I want to get the EPS cables in. I want to get our EPS cables in right here before I do that. That's in the power supply. But now, I lied, we're getting the power supply out first. Shame on me. Here it is. Boxo cable. Big box of cables that we're looking for. Found. We need an EPS cable out of this. 2 EPS cables. Then we'll come back to that power supply later on. Do-do-do-do. Da-da-da-da. On. It's gonna be the last 2 cables that I pull out of this bag, I bet. Look at it is. Yes, EPS. Cool! Thanks for making that easy. Alright. We've got 1 EPS cable. From the back to the front, EPS cable number 2. Yep. I'll flip this down so you can get a better view of what's going on. So these are just the cables. There's nothing plugged in on the other end. But I wanted to get these plugged in because this AIO is going to be covering this up. The blocking this, making it a complete nightmare to get these plugged in after the fact. So I'm going to plug those in now. So it's already done. And that is one of the beautiful things of a modular power supply. Makes building it a lot easier. And it doesn't really cost much more to get the modular. So if you're building for your first time, sometimes it may feel a little bit overwhelming because all the cables are disconnected and you have to plug in 2 different ends. But it makes building it a lot easier. And it makes way more sense. So I highly recommend that. Even if it's your first time build. Definitely go modular. Worth it. Alright, so back to the radiator. Now that we're back to this point. You know, before we do that, one more thing. I want to get this plugged in. That's going to be plugged into the block of the CPU, and that's going to control the CPU fans on the radiator, the RGB on the fans on the radiator, or the AIO, as well as the VRM fan. There's a 4th fan. Pump. The AIO, I'm sorry, the RGB on that cable. My bad. But this is the VRM pump, or the VRM fan, the pump, and the CPU fans. Great, Ben. Fan. Use opt or pump. Don't tell me to put the pump down. Where's the pump on this board? I think it's at the bottom. A header called pump. I'm crazy. Am I crazy? I think I'm crazy. Well, we're gonna go CPU opt for the pump. The VRM fan, going to run that a little further back. I'll try to. Oh, that's... oh. Hoping it does. Well, if it doesn't, we'll figure it out. I always put in the other cable and just run the CPU header. Oh, so it just runs everything. But I would rather have it separated. If I have the option to control this different fans at different speeds. Okay, so now that that's in there, let's finally. All right, so I'm gonna get my screws out so we're ready to mount this. Yay, we're finally mounting it. And again, you could remove this bracket if you wanted to. Mount the bracket to the KO and then drop the bracket on there, but I'm a bit less. I'm taking a shortcut. I'm holding it. So this is kind of like your first time build. Definitely remove that bracket and makes it a little bigger. All right. Screw on each of the corners, and that helps kind of hold it. If you're using my Ben hack. More of a shortcut than anything. And I still like to use your traditional hand screwdriver because I can feel the tension on the screw. I want to make sure I am getting these right. I don't like loose screws or screws falling out because of rattling or shipping. Kind of leaves a bad taste in somebody's mouth when you open up a brand new PC and a screw pops out. Not cool. That is why I use the traditional screwdriver. Just for the feel. Radiator mounted. Side. Ugh. We can block this bad boy. Finally, some action. Drop some Arctic paste down here. Was F7, but we're going to use Arctic stuff that comes clear. Slightly at Thermalright TF7. All right. Time for the block. Block has the screws already on it, and they're pressurized with, I think, a spring in there. So it does take a little bit of force to get it down. Want to make sure this, but not a big deal. Also want to make sure it's plugged in. Right, connect. Again. So it does take a little bit of pressure. If you saw or noticed, it does take a little bit of pressure to get those screws to meet. Hey, Tat. Cat Tuna. Cat2Tuna. Thank you for the follow, sir. But it takes a little bit of pressure to get these screws to meet the bracket. So you're going to be pushing down a little bit. So make sure you got it lined up before you push it down. A little bit tricky. But it does take a little bit to get it right. You'll get it there, and don't be afraid to put a little bit of pressure there. I'm going to put some zip ties on this quick. Front side of the build. Little wire harness that comes off the header. Back through. Find my wire snip on another bench. They have disappeared. Hey, I'm thinking of transplanting my Lenovo T7 gaming desktop into this case. I do have questions. Does having the GPU in a riser config with the way the fans are in the case? No, it really doesn't impact. In fact, if anything, I think it actually will help the temps. The only thing I would suggest, I don't know what type of vertical riser you're planning to use or what position, because there are different positions you can put the card in this case, but if you're using a typical, like the Cooler Master universal vertical bracket, that would be more ideal for a vertical card in this case, because it puts the card vertical right here next to the board and just over the fans, and the fans is going to push all that hot air directly up away from the card and allow cool air to be sucked right into the card. And overall, I think it's a really good position for the card right here, vertical, using something like the Cooler Master universal bracket, which, by the way, is a great bracket and will fit pretty much any case you put that in. Highly recommend that. Hey, what's up, Ringer? Thanks for the follow, sir. So the Cooler Master universal bracket in this case is what I would recommend, and it would work fine. In regards to the fans, there's no interference with the fans, and I guess the only thing I would be concerned of is how low your cooler sits, like with this situation. you'd have to bring the card out closer to the glass because this is an offset cooler by Arctic on AMD, so it's offset, which is a little bit lower, so it rides lower. And that might be a concern with a vertical card, depending on how big the card is, you know. So just something to keep in mind. Clearance there is going to be tight if you do a vertical card. But the universal bracket does give you a lot of different options to play around with the positioning, because it's move and reposition and all sorts of different things, which is why I love that bracket. Are you a builder? Building your own PC, and how much did you spend? So this is actually a PC that I am building for a customer that they purchased off my website. A local customer here in Michigan. I'm a Michigan PC builder. And this build, I think, was... God. I wish he was here to tell me. I don't have my build sheet in front of me, but I think it was north in the 2,500 area plus shipping. Something like that. Rare stream, some giant idiot. No, it's just been really quiet, some giant idiot. I'm sorry. It's just, we haven't had a crazy ton of builds. I've been working on some stuff around here. Doing some upgrades and working on some additional content projects. Oh, okay. What's the budget on this one? This one, I think, is about 2,500-ish. Super nice build. With a free upgraded cooler, because we originally went with a Thermalright Peerless Assassin in here, and I was just going to throw in some fans. I'm like, you know, I'm spending money on the fans as it is. Why don't I just change it out for an AIO farm? I mean, just one thing I didn't think of in the build. If somebody selects a air cooler, I would still want fans at the top to help kind of exhaust the airflow. So I was like, screw it, let's just get the AIO. It's about the same price with the fans and the air cooler that I would have had to purchase. But welcome back to a rare build stream, some giant idiot. No, it's just the summer. Summertime always gets slow. You'll see things ramp up, but this year has definitely been slower than last year and the year before. We're halfway through the year, and we're at 112 builds for the year total. And our 2023 count, I think we were in the 400s this time of the year. We're around 400 builds. So to give you an idea of how slow it's been this year, we've only built a quarter of the amount of builds that we built in the 6 months last year. So hot. Summertime, I know. Oh, the heat's fine up here. I mean, we have AC. I barely go out. No, I'm just kidding. I go outside a lot. I grew up on a farm, and I'm still tied to that farm. And I get called back to do hay all the time. So I have to go touch grass at least once a year. So. All right. Here we go. We've got our cooler mounted. And what's next? They ask. Well, really, it's just dropping a graphics card in, dropping a power supply in, and doing the cool Tony Stark installation. I always think of that as a Tony Stark install. I'll show you later what I mean by that. Like Tony Stark's heart. Well, if Happy Meals weren't $20 now, I'm sure it would be busy. Yeah, I know. It's the economy. It's nothing I could do about it. Then, you know, try to give people budget options to work with, which is mostly what I've been building lately, is just, you know, your typical Ryzen 3, Ryzen 5, GTX 1660, or, you know, RTX 3060 build. Lower, not lower, but not your super high-end build. So that's what I've been doing a lot of. And then I've also been doing a lot of upgrades for people where they don't want to invest in a new PC, which I don't blame them. And I'm just helping them with upgrades to kind of push things along so that they get a little bit more life out of their PC. Tattoos are slow at my shop also because of how costly food is. I know. Every time my wife goes to the grocery store, I feel like she spends, like almost 300 bucks. I think it's like easy $300 every time she goes, and she goes like once a week. It's like I'm sitting here thinking I don't eat that much food. I think I eat one meal a day. That's it. That's all I eat. And then I drink coffee. And I do drink Mountain Dew still every now and then. Yeah. I switch back and forth between Mountain Dew and Coke. And I've been trying to go back to tea. But I think tea's more expensive than pop, so I don't know. We have to budget too. So, yes, the economy sucks right now, and I'm 100% in total agreement. That is why our builds are down. And it sucks. Sausage for everyone. Yep. Pretty much. Let's go buy some off-brand hot dogs at this point. And that's dinner. Or PB&J, even though peanut butter costs freaking ridiculous. And I'm a peanut butter guy. I love peanut butter. Let's drop the power supply in here. Help me. Alright, Sedged tap. We're just going to plug all of our connections in, even though it is a modular power supply, because I've had a lot of people come back and say, hey, I want to do an upgrade, and they don't bring me their cables. I always just been plugging them in to make sure they don't get misplaced. Hard, I know. Especially if they're, they're probably not going to be the next one inside the PC most of the time when they come to me for a build. They're generally not going to be the ones inside the PC. So this will ensure they have the cables if they bring it to anywhere else or anywhere for any upgrade, etc. Cables will be there, ready and waiting if needed. One thing I wish Sedged would have done is give me PCIe cables without the pigtails as an option. That would have been nice. A couple extra dollars. Worth it to me. Don't have to build the pigtail. Yeah, some giant idiot. I think it's only been like 2 weeks since my last stream. I see the case comes with a fan hub. Is that software based or just a hub that the BIOS controls? So there is no software included to manage this. So the answer is yes. It has a synchronization cable for the fan speed and a synchronization cable for the ARGB, because it's both the fan hub and an ARGB rainbow hub. So both come with a synchronization cable, which goes to your PWM header and your ARGB rainbow header on your motherboard. And your motherboard can synchronize the software, or if the other software that you might be using, for example, NZXT or Lian Li L-Connect, supports it, you can tell Lian Li or NZXT to manage them, manage the headers on the motherboard. So it gives you that synchronized experience. But yes, your motherboard will be managing it, connecting to the BIOS and the BIOS managing it, or your motherboard software in Windows. For example, if it was an Asus motherboard, it would be the Armory Crate. If it's Gigabyte, it would be the Gigabyte Control Center, and so forth. MSI being the MSI Center. Well, that sucks because Lenovo locks down the BIOS for fan speeds. It's controlled by a case sensor. Well, you could get a controller for it. I mean, that's an option, which would be a manual controller here, which would suck. But I mean, you're going through the process, you may as if I don't what CPU do you have? Will I notice a massive enough difference to upgrade my fans from 3 stock 120 millimeters fans to 3 140 millimeter fans? Yes, you will notice a airflow difference. Yes, you will feel it physically if you put your hand in there and test with the 120, install the 140s, and then put your hand in there while it's running and feel the airflow. You will feel a difference. 140s move quite a substantial amount of air compared to a 120. It does move a pretty good sizable amount. 12900K. So you could get a B660 motherboard, just as an example. You could probably get one used right now for like 80 bucks, and that will solve that problem. Now you would have to possibly reinstall Windows, or at least reactivate Windows at the minimum, but that would solve that problem, and it would set you up maybe for better upgrades later down the road, getting off that Lenovo board. I mean, it's not the end of the world being on it, but if it's locked down, limiting you, that kind of sucks. My wife would be on board with the case, but not the motherboard and case. You can probably find one used for like 80 bucks, which is pretty good deal. But no, I get it. I've got a wife too. Every time I go to Micro Centers, I don't stop here. I go like once a week too, and it's just a weekly thing where I come home from Micro Center with a bunch of shit, and she's just all over me about it. Not really, no. My thing. Already in my PC, is there a brand you recommend? Have 4 lightweight Be Quiet fans. I mean, Be Quiet's still a great brand, but if you're trying to do it on the cheap, Thermalright would be kind of the cheaper option with, you know, a decent enough fan that's going to last you, you know, a couple of years. If you're trying to get quality fans, then I would say look at Lian Li. Those are going to last, you know, quite a few years before you have a problem, but they're substantially more expensive. So, I mean, it really just depends on the quality that you want, how long you want them to last. But I mean, keep in mind, you're probably going to be upgrading your PC in the next 3 years anyway, or at least less, the way technology is moving so fast. But you could just stick with the Be Quiet fans if you like those. They have some pretty cool Ring ARGB fans, if you're looking for ARGB. This case is the one I've been eyeballing for sure. Are you looking for the King Pro or just the regular? Because that's one thing I actually wanted to mention to you. Tat2 Tuna is if you are buying the basic edition, it may not include, I don't remember if it includes this hub or not, because it doesn't have the fans, and it's, I think, like $70 less. The Pro edition includes the 2 fans on the side, the 3 fans on the bottom, the fan on the rear, along with the hub. I don't think the base version includes the hub, and it definitely doesn't include the fans. Just for awareness, there's 2 versions to this case. This is the Pro version. The King 95 Pro. Yes, I am a huge fan of this case. I love this case. Montech did a really good job on this case. If they called it their flagship case right now, I think it pretty much is at the moment. One of the best cases they've made yet. For the price, it's great. You really cannot beat it. Sorry, could you repeat what you said again? Got hit with 8 ads in a row. No problem. What I was saying is, and I don't know what part you didn't hear, wait, who am I talking to? The brand I recommend. Okay, so the brand I would recommend is, if you're looking for cheap, Thermalright. They make pretty decent fans that'll last about a year or two before the bearings start having weird squeaks. If you want quality, you're going to want something like Lian Li. Be Quiet is actually a really good brand as well, a quality brand. So if you want to stick with Be Quiet, take a look at those. They have some addressable RGB fans, ring fans, I think, that are really cool looking. So those are pretty good. I like the Be Quiets, actually. They're pretty good. And then, of course, if you want pure performance and you don't care about looks, look at Noctua. Those are performance fans that will pretty much last you a lifetime. They're good. When I say a lifetime, you're looking like, 10 to 15 years before you start having weird issues with them. Unless the quality's been down since I've worked with them last. That's what I have is Be Quiet. Can run them some at max speed without a ton of sound. Yeah. Be Quiet, that's their niche is it moves a lot of air and you can barely hear them whisper quiet. This case is the one I've been eyeballing for sure. I like being able to put the mesh front. Yes, the mesh front is actually super cool. Sorry, I knew there was something that I didn't read. Catching up. Okay. RTX 4070 Super time. I'm gonna drop this bad boy in there. Plug it in. Do a little bit of cable management on the backside, and then fire this bad boy up for the first time. See if we get a post. Then we have a bonus build today. I had a customer drop off all his parts for a build, and he's looking, he actually didn't really request it, but I was like, I could probably throw it in, get it done tonight. At least the build portion. I gotta do the Windows install probably tomorrow. Gosh darn it. Release the Kraken. Also, if you get these adapters, buy a PCIe 5.0 power supply. Hey, thanks. Thanks, Stavi. Thank you for the like, sir. If you get this with your graphics card and you're forced to use this adapter, don't use it. This is a piece of shit. Buy a power supply with a PCIe 5.0 connector. Or different. I usually take them out of the package and throw them away. Here's our 4070 Super with our 12 volt high power connection, which I wasn't sure if it used 2 8 pins or the 12 volt. I couldn't remember. Couldn't remember if the TI Super or the Super both have them. No, the TI Super does. Where they started. But it sounds like the 5000 series is going to be requiring those connections. So look forward to that. I need to... Son of a bee. Bumblebee. Well, that sucks. That screw went down there and ain't coming out. But we have to get it out. Because I won't even see the fans. Because I won't even see the fans. Yeah. They're on the bottom of my PC, so I won't even see them. They sit under my GPU. Oh, then, I mean, you could also get an Arctic. Or a Antec? Arctic, probably. For something cheap. Bastard, get away from me. Don't, if you drop a screw down there, always go get it. Do not leave a screw down there because it could be shorting something. PC Builder Tech's tips. I forgot to plug that in. Oh well. Cable management time. Such a compact card. I like it. Yeah, it's a nice card for the size. Just down the case upside down and shake it out like that was an option, but I'm sure a customer would not like to see that on the stream. Come on out, you little bastard. I forgot one of these cables. I don't know how I've missed it, but I did. But it's okay, it's right here at the top. Just a SATA power cable. Not a big deal. Wanna try to pull nice and here on the back side in the Velcro strip provided by Tech. Contact. Compliment. We just got to do some cable management here, and we'll fire this bad boy up, and we'll move on to build number 2. Build one, get one free. Build one free. Need a zip tie here. Kind of just. Oh, get it. Totally. There. Nice and neat. Last little. Maybe. Go. Nice and neat. All right. Good. You guys like that cable management, right? Oh, shit. One. I had one of those. Oh, shit. You guys have those too? Nope. Found them. These little guys right here. Gonna pile up these SATA connectors like so. Neat. There's a couple of zip ties here. Needs them, they'll be here ready and wait. Oh. Well. Go. Nice and clean cable management. Very easy to do, especially in a case like this. Cable management. I recommend, always taking the extra little bit of time that it takes to do some cable management, so just looks a lot more organized when you get in there. Hey, Beetle Streakin'. I recently had trouble with an Amazon CPU cooler after I installed it. Couldn't get a post display. I knew I put too much pressure on it when installing the cooler. I don't think you can do that in 2024. Most coolers, unless you're using the wrong brackets, etc., or studs or screws for the cooler, are generally designed to not allow that to happen. So by you saying you put too much pressure on there, the only way that could have happened is if you were using the wrong screws. My first question to you, hey Steve, how's it going? Just a few minutes ago, it looks like you posted, messaged. But if you are Beetle Stricken, if you are, I guess, what CPU are you installing on? Let's start with that, because we could have possibly just a one bent pin. I don't know if the CPU came out of the socket or not. For example, with AM4, if you are installing a or removing a stock cooler off of an AM4 AMD CPU, you remove that stock cooler. Those coolers generally get like pretty much glued to the CPU, and it's always, and then you pull the cooler off, and then you look on the bottom, you find your CPU still stuck to the cooler. where it shouldn't have been possible to actually pull that CPU out of the socket, but that happened. And that does tend to happen with the stock AMD coolers. So I assume that's probably what happened. AM4, did the CPU come out of the socket with the cooler when you went and removed it? And then you had to use a little screwdriver to pry it off the cooler? That happens even if it's only been running for a month on those stupid coolers. I call them stupid because it happens, and every now and then I still build with them. I'm on a super tight budget for the customer. I always tell them though, this is like the first thing you want to upgrade with. If I end up using, which you will find that I don't really use on this most of my. Yes, that happened. So most likely, if it's not posting after the AMD CPU, which I was saying probably happened, most likely you have a bent pin. So you want to take the CPU back out, take a real close look at the pins on the back of the CPU. Thankfully, a Ryzen 5 5500 right now is like $80 on Amazon. It's very inexpensive. So it's not like breaking the bank to replace. It's not a $500 CPU that you did that to. So it's something that you could easily replace if you have bent or broken pins. If it's a broken pin, you're not probably going to fix that unless it's a ground pin, and maybe you got lucky, or maybe it's a pin for another memory slot or a PCI bank, or you know, it could be something. But if it's not posting right now, most likely it's a bent pin. Take the CPU out, look at the bottom, see if you have bent pins. Alright, we got this panel back on. Let's go ahead and put our panels on, except for the final side panel, because we're going to, it'll reflect too much light on the glass. This is how confident I am putting it all back together. So confident. It's going to post, right? Please post for me. Alright. The last panel that we had to put on was the glass side panel, which we're going to leave removed for the initial, you know, don't worry, I'll get you guys a side view here in just a moment. Yeah, Beetle Stricken, if you have bent pins, if you want to send a photo to me, I can tell you whether or not it's going to be something that you can attempt to repair or bend the pins back. And if you're not comfortable with doing it, if you have the little piece of plastic that the CPU would have come in, or if you need one, I could ship you one. But if you want to ship me the CPU, I could try to bend the pins back. But there's no guarantee there. And I will not replace it if it breaks. The pin breaks. Alright guys, who's ready to see this thing fired up for the very first time? You guys ready for me to hit that power button? Let's do it. Punch it, Chewie. I don't know why I went with Chewbacca. Waiting for that motherboard memory training to complete. Then we can... Hey, what's up? Boss? Thanks for that like over there on the Twitch. There it is. I was like, where's the notification? Let's do it. Memory training for DDR5 does take a minute, so the initial post generally will take a moment. Or a few moments. The board's cycling right now. And you just saw the RGB on the cooler pop on, and there's our post. Nice. DDR5 posting is getting a lot faster than when it used to take, like, literally 2 to 5 minutes for the initial post with DDR5. Now it's like 30 seconds or less. Getting better. BIOS updates are solving those problems. This is a version 2 of this board, so it's got a newer version of BIOS on there. Shipped. Yeah! Build number 1 done. Hey, clear information. Yeah. We have a post. So, Ryzen 7 7800X3D is in. What's the RAM? I'm curious. Oh. Just for clarification, it is a 64 gig kit. I just read it wrong if I said it differently. So 2 32 gig sticks, total of 64 gigs. Big boy. It is big boy. So yeah, there's our build number 1. Who's ready to see an ITX build? I haven't done one of those in a long time. It's gonna be a small, compact, fractal case ITX build. I don't remember the model. You guys want to see that one? Cute little build. We just went from, you know, the King Beast big build to a, now we're going to be doing an ITX build. Oh, mini build, yeah. Like a little piece of candy. All right, let's go back to the top down. Shut this bad boy down. We know it's all good. In the hood. I want to say that I'm from Detroit. All right. We'll start the Windows install on that one, and we'll start this mini build here, the ITX build. I have not done an ITX build in a while, so I'm kind of excited. Same time, I'm dreading it. customer went out and bought his own parts and brought everything to me to do the build. Oh. The only thing I found in this build that I was worried about, it being an RTX 4080 Super, and this power supply, which is an SFX power supply, does not have the 12 volt high power 16 pin PCIe 5.0 connection. At least I don't think it does. If it does, it's got a weird connector on here. It is ATX 3.0. Oh, it is PCIe 5.0 ready. I just read it wrong, so we're good. Never mind, screw that. Forget everything I just said. Horsehair just likes to hide the crap out of that and make it impossible to see. We're doing a Terra fractal case. This is the case, and these are all the parts that go in it. The boxes for all the parts take up more space than the case itself. Boxed. Nice. Yeah. Steve, I figured you'd like this one. So, the only other concern I had was the size of this 4080. Does it fit in the case? The answer is I don't exactly know. He says he did the math and looked at the physical size of this card and the limitation in the case, and that it should fit. So I'm going to check that real quick. It's still a concern. Still a concern of mine. But I believe him. I have full faith that it will fit. Probably going to need that manual. Just saying. The first time I built in this case, I haven't done this. This is a newer release by Fractal. I have not gotten a chance to work with this case, so I am a little excited to work with it. I'm getting the case out because it's smaller than almost everything else here. I just want to give you guys like a look at what we're going to be building in today. If you came here to watch Ben cuss, then you came at the right stream, or came to the right stream. If you didn't come here to hear Ben cuss, then I'm sorry. But I'm sure there's going to be a few cuss words today while using this case. It is pretty though. Got that nice wood fascia. But okay, here's the case, and here's everything that's going inside of it. Just to give you a... I'm afraid I might get no post display after I install the Amazon cooler on my new motherboard. No, I wouldn't worry about that. Being honest with you, Beetle Stricken, I think your CPU has bent pins, so take a look at the bottom of your CPU and look for bent or broken pins. My 4070 Ti is a ProArt. Nice cards, yes. Yes, I'm a big fan of the Asus ProArt cards as of right now. They've always just been super slick cards. I've really liked them. So, does anybody want to sit here and you know, post some wagers on whether or not these are going to fit? Is everything going to fit in here? Is it going to fit? Because if it fits, it ships. My last ITX build I did was in a Lian Li case. Like, I don't even know... This is my first time building in this case. I don't even know how to take the panel off. Assuming this starts here. Got a little lever or pull tab. Kind of gave it away. Now what? Think this slides out maybe, or what does it do? Panels have to come off somehow. I think it's manual time. Pull out from the bottom. I put a Gigabyte Aero pre-fan card in this case. Fit just fine. I'm just looking at this case physically and I'm like, holy, this is smaller than any other ITX build I've ever done. How are the temps? What's the total wattage of the system? They flip out like gull wings. Flip out like gull wings. On the bottom, you said? Pull out from the bottom. Oh. Yeah, they do. That is... These come off. I feel like I see a spring. I feel like there's got to be a way to... Oh. Oh, that's cool. Smarter than the case, Ben. Comes with your PCI riser cable, which is cool. You're going to need that. So it looks like the motherboard mounts this way, the graphics card mounts that way, and the heat and exhaust is all vented opposite directions, which is cool. Definitely no AIO support here. Power supply mounts here. Cool. And we have a little power supply cable ran here for the back. So you plug in this cable to the power supply, and then your external cable to here. Which is cool. This is pretty badass. Squeeze the latches. I got it. I figured that out. I figured something out. Yeah, it's this little latch mechanism here, which releases it. That is pretty nifty. Okay, this build's a lot more fun than I thought it would be. All right. I was just dying to see the case, so that's why I started with it. I didn't... I saw the box that it came in, I'm like, man, that thing's tiny. I want to see it. I've seen videos of it, and I've seen builds done in it. So I have the general idea. And I've done, you know, ITX builds before, but not one this small. This is small. It is tiny. I like it. I'm a fan. Like, I could take this and put it in my RV. Easy. Mount it in my RV somewhere. Alright, so that's it. Easy. This is a cable management section here at the front. Cool. I'll try to free this. And be plugged in up here. Okay. Probably something like that. Okay, enough screwing around with it. Let's get started. I like it. You built it for your nephew. Take out the orange plastic pieces. Oh, do I have to take those orange plastic pieces out? What do the orange plastic pieces do? What do these do? They're not just for looks? Or is it to pull the whole tray out? Hey, I'm following this random dude's instructions now at this point. It's obviously built with this one before. Ah. Okay. That is for, that's got some sort of like numbers here. I need to read the manual. I'm scared. We don't put the orange pieces back in, does it? It just keeps it safe and shipping? Got it. Almost looked like it was there for looks. Oh, because it can slide back and forth. They locked it in. Got it. That's pretty cool. Does this whole thing come out? It looks like it would. Almost, maybe. It looks like that would come out, but I don't think we're going to need to take it out, honestly. Undo this. It allows you to adjust if you need more GPU space. Okay, got it. Yeah, that's kind of what I was figuring. Is it space for the cooler or space for the GPU? Depending on what you're building with. I want to damage this. I don't want it in the way when we deal with the board. Well, let's start with the motherboard. We'll start with it here. And I'll put those screws back in once we figure all that out. Okay, motherboard. Let's do it. You pretty much just keep all the parts right here. Cool! Well, since I've ran into something new. We've got an M.2 on it, so... Did we install the SSD? It almost looks like he's already installed the SSD. I could be wrong. Double check. Look at how tiny this thing is. It's a baby motherboard, guys. Compared to all the ATX motherboards that we work with day in and day out. This thing's a baby. I believe for the 4080 Super, it has to be slid over to the 5th slot, make everything fit. Oh, okay. It's good to know. That way, when I get to that point and you're not here, I can sound like an expert. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry, there's multiple chats going here because I'm streaming to Twitch, YouTube, Kick, and Facebook, and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. I checked. There were no bent pins on the CPU at all. Maybe I could have broke the socket pins inside. The PC did post before I installed the cooler, and after it wouldn't post and display. Yeah, what is the cooler? Which cooler are you using? The one that you got from Amazon, Beetle Stricken. You had to return due to no posting. Okay. So you don't even have the parts anymore? Or the cooler that you got rid of? Alright. Get the CPU installed. RAM installed. SSD installed. I think it was just a thermal pad down there that I was looking at. And then... Oh yeah, I should probably shoot a text to him. I forgot to do that. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to go send the text to make sure he knew I was building his PC. Alright, CPU time. Let's get this done. Yeah, again, I did not pick out any of these parts. They picked out all the parts, bought all the parts, and then brought them to me. Asked me to do the build for them. And this is my first time doing a build in this case. So, it's a new adventure for me, right? Try to do that for him. So, here we are. Going on an adventure together. It has a weird risen. Has a heat sink underneath, where this board is risen for the SSD. That's kind of cool. I like that. I like it. Interesting design. I think the last ITX board I built with was ASRock. Rock board. Alright, gold triangle. The little notches lined up. Drop it in place. Lid down, hammer down, plastic pop. Next, let's do the SSD since we already have the spreader off, heat spreader. Simple. I mean, so far building in this thing's, I feel like gonna be a breeze, right? This is a 2 terabyte, I think, right? Yeah, 2 terabyte M.2 Gen 4 Western Digital Black SN850X. Gen 4. Up to 7,200. RPM. Why we struggle? A big finger will not fit in tight place. There we go. Peel the peel off of that thermal pad. Got to peel your peels on the thermal pads. Don't peel the thermal pad, peel the peel. Come on, fat fingers, work with me. Maybe a little. Still got tucked away. Things, you know. There we are. Now we can install the RAM. We're going with, looks like, what was that, 32? Yeah, 32 gigs. DDR5, G.Skill Flare X, AMD Expo certified. This is 6000 megahertz CL30. Pretty good kit. This stuff's been pretty stable. Have had some bad kits, but I mean, I build with a lot of these kits. So my sample rate's probably way higher than any of yours. There we go. Now we just, we should probably try to mount the cooler outside of the case. I have a weird feeling where you have to maybe remove those, definitely remove those plastic mounts, but this is a Noctua NH-L9A AM4. It's a L-type low-profile cooler by Noctua. Sorry. I didn't realize how blurry it was. There we go. Hopefully it wasn't blurry for too long. Okay. YouTube chat, I gotta catch up on. Wait a second. It's a ID cooling. Oh, yeah, those are usually pretty good. The ID cooling. SE224. Yeah, those are usually pretty good. I have the same cooler on my i9. It's been running nice for about 3 years now. Did I do something wrong on the cooler that didn't, that maybe didn't. The only thing I can think of is like you used the wrong hardware. Beetle streaking over on YouTube. I think that's the only way you could have over tightened it, because most of those kits only allow you to tighten it down so much, and they're designed, you know, for the correct height. You can't really over tighten unless you're using the wrong hardware. Tightened it too much because you think you were rushing and wanted to get it over with. I have a habit of doing that. You know, it's really hard to do. So as long as you use the right hardware for AM4, then you should have been fine. All right, so let's get this cooler installed. I've actually never used one of these coolers either, so this is the first time for this cooler. Like, I've used different versions of the Noctua low profiles. Super tiny again. Holy smokes. But I've never used this one. They do give us a metal do give us a metal backplate. Curious if we're toasty or if we could use the one that comes with. I have a weird feeling we have to use that. I've got a feeling. Yo ho. Maybe I should have stick with the stock air cooler, and when I get my build, bundle with the motherboard and CPU. No, you shouldn't. I would not recommend sticking with that stock cooler. I would just make sure you take your time and read the instructions. If you're worried about the cooler being incorrect, Thermalright makes a really good cooler, a couple of different coolers. The Assassin X120 SE is a really good cooler by Thermalright. And then there's also the Thermalright Peerless Assassin, which was a bigger version of that cooler. Has more heat pipes and 2 fans, etc. So those are 2 coolers you could take a look at. And as long as you're using the right hardware, which you could look back on my previous videos, I've done builds with both of those coolers. As long as you're using the right hardware, you will not mess it up. Which the instructions tell you what to use. Reminds me, does this come with instructions? I need to look at those because this is my first time installing this cooler. Okay. Required mounting parts. The backplate, which they say is required. Remove the stock mounting stuff. Okay. The feeling that was coming. We really can't mount from the top side. Nice. Well, there's a slight problem here, boys. This bracket has the socket mounted to it, brackets for the socket. They are not 2 separate pieces versus other typical boards, it would. And this thing requires me to remove that bracket. Specifically, they call out, remove that bracket and put the new one on. Is this guy. But if you look closely here, I cannot do that. This is the mounting for the stock plate, and there's our socket mounted to that. So if I do that, I'm removing our socket as well. What do I do here, guys? Shit. Do I want to chance the CPU being loose upside down while I'm trying to mount this damn thing? Will the AM4 mounting work on AM5? I would assume so. It is the same socket, yes. Same socket size. But this is a unique backplate. Usually this backplate is separate from this backplate. So that is unique. So I would say we're in a peculiar position here. We gotta look for another cooler. You guys want to go look for another cooler? Let's go look for another cooler. Test, test. I came in loud. Oh, there we go. So I didn't really have a scene for the desktop side screen share. So my desk is way over here. At least I couldn't figure out which one I had set up. So here we go. Let's go ahead and search for... Turn that down just a little bit. Let's go ahead and search Micro Center for a cooler for this guy. I'm going to go with Micro Center because it's down the street. Yes, I believe they're already closed. Yes, they're closed for the night. Closed at 9 p.m. It's 9:15 p.m., so we won't be able to get there today. But I can get out there tomorrow, probably after 4:30, 5 p.m. I could swing by there and then bring it back, and then we can finish the build. But I think this cooler is not going to work with that backplate, so we got to take a look at different coolers. Any suggestions? Case fans and coolers, CPU fans and heatsinks. Let's start there. Let's see if we have a low profile option. Which one did we have? Is this the same one? It says it supports AM5. Mine is the SE207XT Slim. Sorry, I was wrong. Yeah, but they're the same. They're pretty much the same cooler, Steve. The mounting for AM4 is the same for IDE cooling across the board. So that shouldn't be a problem. I'm sorry, I don't have my pop filter on or anything on this desk mic. I just realized that. I'll deal with that later. So what do you guys think? This is a low profile. I'm going to throw that in the cart just to save that. We'll go looking for some other ones. But I think that's an option. I do want to see how that installs. Looks like it's going to be a bottom mount. Let's look it up. Aha. But it's still going to be a problem. Because that whole panel has to stay on, right? Oh, this is Intel. Oh, thank goodness. Did I miss it? AMD. Here we go. So remove those. We keep the studs. Yep, this is a winner. So this one will work with it. Even though this is, you know, it says AM4. AM5 and AM4 is the same process, same size. So it'll fit. So this is the cooler. It's slightly larger. But this is a cooler that will fit that board with that bracket problem. So that is an option. Let's go look at to see if we have any other low profiles. Here's the one that we're currently working with, I think, right? Hold on. So that one's out of the water, or ruled out. Well, there's an Evercool. I don't think I would ever use that. I'm just curious to see what this is. It's been a while since I've, like, searched for a low-profile cooler. Oh, that's ugly. Ugh. Just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Moving on. That's really it. Those are all the CPU. What? These are all the coolers that they have? This place doesn't have a lot of coolers right now. Heat sinks, CPU, GPU. Huh. They've got 7 in stock. I'm going to go ahead and reserve that bad boy. Not with that 7950X 3D. Just the cooler. Alright, so we're going to get this bad boy. We're going to put it in. Yes, it's going to be a little bit taller. But I think with that case, we have plenty of room with the card. I don't want to proceed with the build until after the fact. You guys saw my address. You guys know my address and my email anyway. Because the... Here, I'll show you why I don't want to do it. Actually, it wouldn't move. So actually, we could. We could proceed with the build. The only thing we'd have to do is do the cooler last. So we could do that. Let's keep building. We could do that. Let's go back. All right, we're back here, back at the bench. So we can proceed with the build because the socket's going to hold this backplate. And the reason why we have to go get another cooler is because this install requires this backplate, because you can't have the lips on the other side of the stock backplate. So this backplate needs to be removed. As soon as we remove that, our socket's going to be free, meaning our CPU is going to be loose. And we have to pretty much flip it upside down to do the install. And I'm not chancing bending any pins. So I don't play those games anymore. I already know the results. This is not the right cooler for this socket. Would have worked with AM4, no problem. It'll fit this AM5, but the design of this backplate isn't going to allow us to make that happen. So I'm going to put this cooler back together, or back in its box, all its stuff. Thankfully, I didn't get too far. And I'll have him return this. We'll just get that other cooler. And that will be solving the problem. Build it right. If he ever has to, you know, take this off for maintenance later down the road, it would be such a big pain in the ass, right? If we did it with this cooler, because we could still make this work. We could. But if he ever had to take this cooler off to repaste, it would be such a big pain in the ass. And I don't want him to go through that down the road. And he could potentially bend his pins. I have thought about going 9950X3D when you had a chance. Yeah, no, it's a great CPU. I'm actually looking at that for my PC. I constantly have CPU problems with limitations. Anyway, go ahead and proceed with everything else but the CPU cooler. We do that last once we get the cooler tomorrow. Drop this board in here. Is there anything I should plug in now? Well, I didn't advantage of them. I get the hardware kit out. But I hope he was watching so he sees what I was talking about. Promise I'm not an idiot. Not gonna work. Hope you guys think I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Hey, let's look at what we're doing. Forgot how zoomed we're. I'm so disconfuddled. Sorry. Guys, just say something. Hey, Ben, zoom out. Can't see. Yes. Definitely not so. USB connections are done, and we just need to get this power button installed. What do I know about the motherboards? Will they be DDR? I can't read that because there's a little heart symbol. Thank you. YouTube chat pop-out window. With the 9950X3D. DDR, are you saying 5 or DDR6? Yeah. Go. Now we could probably just drop the G. We want to deal with the power supply and do the GPU. I think we do the power supply and then do the GPU last. And technically the cooler we're going to be doing last now at this point. DDR6. What do I know about the motherboards? Will the DDR6? I actually don't know. I'm not sure. To be honest, I haven't really mastered DDR5 yet, so I don't think they're maturing to DDR6 yet. I wouldn't see them doing that. Definitely wouldn't be my recommendation. Not recommend they do that. They haven't worked out all the issues with DDR5 yet. Plus, that's the only solution. I don't know what that is. Corsair, why do you gotta be so bougie? Alright, so we need CPU, EPS. Nope. U. 4-pin. Also 2. And I don't think we need any SATA power connectors, do we? No. There's 16-pin high volts. Yeah. (16-pin 12-volt high power). I'm sorry, it's going to be like 9:30. It's been a long freaking day. Things happen inside my head, you know? Ah! Little miniature connectors for the SFX. Now, in this build, because it's an ITX build, I am not going to put all the cables in here. I'm going to leave the cables we don't need out. Or Rizzle. I should be. Well, I don't like it. Look how it's pushing on the bottom there. Top ventilated? Yes, good. Right, son of a... Wow. Okay. Power supply is mounted. Around with ideas here. I'm allowed to play. Want this. Tight fit with this power supply for some reason. It's not like really tight fit. Escape. Don't want it blocking that. There. Right? Yeah? Any objections there? Yeah, it's warm over here too, Steve, so I think we were pushing 90s here. It was like upper 80s today. That's warm for Michigan. You know, of course, we're getting into 90s last week. So, next up, graphics card. Get that in there now, yeah? Now that we fought with this. Holy smokes. RTX 4080 Super Asus ProArt going in. Let's do it. Already open it? That'd be kind of awkward if I open this and there's no graphics card in here. Probably start checking that when people... Not saying he would, you know, do that. Pretty cool guy. Right? Just saying. Could be a thing. Oh, this cart's gonna fit. Massive box. Come on, you. Mid 80s here, but my apartment is top one, so yeah, oh yeah, you're getting all the heat rises. Probably the worst peel I've ever done. Are you? Okay, guys, riddle me this. How do you get to these screws? Does that come out? Comes out. Kind of dumb. Should give you the option to just screw it right in. All that extra work just to mount the card. Makes no sense. Oh, now I have a dangling graphics card. Yeah, I shouldn't have mounted the damn thing on the board. thumb screws. One thing after another. Fine. Just overly engineered. Put 2 holes here. Keep the mounting bracket non-removable or optional. Don't have to remove the dang thing. All that extra work. Who designs these screw locations? Seriously. Okay. Don't tell me this. Probably. If I could avoid it. What is bent? Ugh. And the don't like that at all. Really don't have a choice, sir. Either that or go on the back side. Is this an open air case? No, this is a ITX super teeny tiny build. And it's in the Fractal Terra computer case, which is a super small ITX build form factor. Cool looking. But I mean, it's tiny. And we crammed an RTX 4080 Super in there. And the cooler we have had for the build isn't going to work with this motherboard, so we have to go get another cooler. So I just slapped an order on Micro Center there, and I got to go grab it tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is put this side panel on, try to get this graphics card as close as I can to that side panel because of the height of that other. I can't remember which panel was which. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to reroute that graphics card cable. It's not gonna fit this way. I really didn't want to cramp it. Don't think we have a choice but to put it in the back. I hate that. Much better. Now I have this bulky. Don't want to bend the crap out of it. That'll at least work. You know that. I'm trying to get as much space as I can for this CPU cooler. So it's tight. I think we have to do it that way. Put in here. Okay. So right there. I hate how the 4000 series cards don't sit flush. Yeah, they don't always. And it's also in a weird case. Here we go. All right, got it together. Barely. The only thing we're missing. Hey, what's up? Hello, welcome. Bar, watching from Uganda. Where is that? So we've got this this built. The only thing we're missing is the CPU cooler, because the CPU cooler we had, customer brought, wasn't gonna work. So built other than a CPU cooler. That is tight fit. Let me tell you. But we made it fit. I believe Michigan is 3 hours difference from Washington. It's 7 p.m. for you here. Nice. Yeah, no, yeah, I think it's because we're Eastern time over here. So yeah, I think it's a 3 hour difference. We're 3 hours ahead. The lack of airflow holes across every surface of this case concerns me. I mean, it is ventilated. There's some pretty good sizable vents along the side, the top, the other side where the graphics card is, and the bottom. All have ventilation. And of course the back side of it, our top panel just popped because I'll have to zip tie that down. Yeah, I mean, there's ventilation there. The only panel that doesn't have ventilation is the front. And honestly, that's where the side of the power supply is. Maybe it would have been good for the back of the graphics card. The front, yeah. That is kind of weird. For as much work as they put in for ventilation, strange that they didn't add a little bit of ventilation in the front, which would have been the rear of the graphics card. No fans whatsoever on this build outside of the CPU fan and the fans on the graphics card. I would be very curious to find out what the temps are on this thing when it's under a full load. Oh, it's East Africa. Okay. Nice. Well, welcome. I think this is the first time I've ever had anybody over there at least tell me they were watching. Comment while we were streaming. Yeah, it's pretty late for us over here. It's 10 p.m. I'm actually just wrapping up the stream. We did 2 builds tonight. This one we have to go get another cooler, but I mean, I'm not going to fire it up until we get the cooler. If you guys want me to, I can fire up a stream tomorrow after we get the other cooler on here, either tomorrow or Thursday. Now at this point, because I gotta get the cooler and then I gotta put it in and then we gotta fire it up. So may or may not fire up the stream, but if you guys want me to, I will. Also, I believe the cable for the graphics card can be routed easier when you slide it into a different setting number. Gives you more space. Yes. The problem is the cooler we're gonna go get, the CPU cooler, is a much taller, low-profile cooler than the one we have here. And I'm kind of worried that it's not going to fit, so I'm trying to get as much space over for that CPU cooler. It's a larger cooler. I don't know if you saw it on the screen earlier. Gives you more space when mounting it. Yeah, I know. I actually left it completely loose while I was mounting it, and I was intentionally making sure everything was slid over to the graphics card side as far as possible, because the cooler that we're going to get is a beast. The first one requires you to remove the AM5 bracket on the motherboard, and the AM5 bracket on the motherboard is tied to your socket, and you basically have to flip the motherboard upside down to install the cooler, which means we have a loose CPU if we do that. So it's meant for AM4. It's not really meant for AM5, or at least this bracket design on this Asus motherboard, because the bracket on the backside for the cooler mounting needs to be removed, but it's also what's holding on the brackets for the socket. If you go into YouTube, you can replay the video, or you can replay the video here on Twitch, I guess. But I went through kind of a detailed explanation on that. Yeah, so the CPU would be free. There would be nothing holding that CPU other than the cooler itself, which, if it was my build, yeah, sure, I'd do it. Why not? You know, but it's his build. This is not my build. This is a customer's build. So if he ever goes to take that cooler off, he's risking the chance of bending pins on the motherboard, and that would be a pain in the butt. I don't want to do that. You know, if he ever had to take the cooler off just to do a repaste, he wouldn't be able to do it. And he would have to do it from the underside of the motherboard. So either you're taking the motherboard out or you're taking the graphics card out to get to it. That's just a pain in the butt. So there's another cooler by Noctua, a little bit bigger, but it mounts from the motherboard top side on the stock bracket, which we don't want to remove. And it's just a little taller. It's a low profile, but it's a little bit beefier. Cooler Master makes another, yeah, but it's unfortunately not one I can get tomorrow, meaning I'm going to Micro Center and picking this up tomorrow, the cooler. So it's in stock at our Micro Center near down the street. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of room in here for that cooler. Plenty of room there. Come on. There we go. You're up early then. Yes. Yeah, you are up early. Yeah, I know Cooler Master makes a pretty good low profile for this scenario. Yes, I agree with that. They do have a pretty good low profile cooler. It's just you need it specifically for AM5, because we want to be able to use the stock bracket that comes with this motherboard. That's the important piece. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty awesome build for him. Our local customer that brought us all these parts to do the build. Yeah, definitely going to be an awesome build for him. Nate. I think I got the wrong name up in the corner there. Plus, it's super small text. Gotta fix that. So yeah, it'll be pretty sick looking ITX build. For sure. But alright guys, that's honestly all I've got for today. We're gonna get that cooler tomorrow, deal with that tomorrow or Thursday, and I gotta finish up this other build that we built earlier in the stream, because I want to try to get that going out to him either Wednesday or Thursday, one of these next 2 days. Deliver it to him. Some giant idiot. Have a good night, sir. Have a good night, everybody. We do have a couple more builds coming up, so keep a lookout for the next stream. Probably going to be in the next couple to few days. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next time.